Wherever it is in the world you are joining us, thank you so much for joining StriveScan's virtual college exploration program. A few housekeeping items before we begin. First and foremost, you're encouraged to ask questions throughout this session via the Q&A button that you see on your screen. When you submit the question, they get sent to our panelists and they'll work to answer the question during the session and at the conclusion of the session as well. They may not get to every question, so they will receive a transcript of all the questions submitted if they don't get to it in this 45-minute presentation. As a reminder, your camera and your microphone are turned off. The panelists cannot see or hear you. So if you have questions, make sure to type them in through the Q&A. This is one of 50 panel presentations and individual information sessions through the colleges that change lives. And we encourage you to check out the rest of the programming through Tuesday night, as well as the recordings from the past 2 days at strivescan.com/virtual/CTCL, sorry. And finally, when you sign up for this program, you received a barcode. You don't need that barcode for this CTCL program. And with that, I'm gonna hand it over to our panelists.
All right, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are representing Willamette University. My name is Caitlin Forbes. I'm an admission counselor, and joining me today is Sue Corner, our Director of Recruitment, as well as current student Brian X-Qualwalk. So we are going to tell you a little bit about Willamette today. So we introduced ourselves already. What's next? We're going to talk a little bit about the academic experience, life outside the classroom, applying to and paying for college, which is the big one, and of course leave some time afterwards for some questions. So a little bit about Willamette. We were founded in 1842. We're older than Oregon and California, which is really great. We've gotten to see the city of Salem grow around us. We are a 4-year private liberal arts institution, and we're supported by 3 professional schools surrounding us: the College of Law, the Atkinson Graduate School of Management, and our newest addition, the Claremont School of Theology. We are also one of the 40 colleges that change lives, which of course is why you're seeing us today. Of course, that book written by Lauren Pope just highlighted some schools that weren't being recognized for the amazing outcomes that they were producing and the great students that attended there. So we're honored to be one of those colleges. And as we go through this presentation, you'll see why we are one of those colleges that change lives. So a little bit of numbers for you this Monday morning. We have 1,800 undergraduate students. We are an undergrad heavy campus. We do have about 600 graduate students though, so don't you fret. Our average class size is 17, and we have an 11-to-1 student to faculty ratio. We have 50 academic programs, 52, excuse me, including a create your own major. So we definitely can support a plethora of academic interests here at Willamette. We also have a 305-acre property, Xena, which is a hands-on learning and recreation space. It's really popular with our biology students and our environmental science students. It's about 15 minutes outside of campus, and it's a great, beautiful space for students to interact with and get that hands-on learning. We also have a 54-year partnership with the Tokyo International University. This is a really great partnership that we have. It started 50 years ago where some folks were looking for a partnership with an American college to have their American Studies program, and Willamette happily volunteered. And fast forward, we have a great relationship with them. We have about 100 students come over to our campus for their American Studies program. And of course, we send students over to the Tokyo International University for their study abroad experience. We're also 76 feet away from the state capitol. We had one of our staff members measure. We're very, very close. We are the closest university in proximity to the state capitol in the nation. And we have a lot of opportunities for our students over there. About 80% of the interns that work at the state capitol are Willamette students. And we also have 66 plus study abroad partnerships for our students to utilize. I'm gonna hand it over to Sue to tell you a little bit about our campus.
Thanks, Caitlin. We wish that everybody were actually on campus with us right now to see this beautiful place this time of year. But since you're not here, we're just going to show you a couple of quick pictures of where we're located. Caitlin, if we could do the next slide. There's a great picture here of Willamette's very historic first building. Waller Hall is that building you see in the front with the cupola on top. You can really see in this picture our close proximity that Caitlin mentioned to the state capitol. You can also see in the background there 5 giant sequoia trees, which are the star trees at Willamette. They're kind of a fun tradition. They were planted at our 100-year anniversary, and they are the largest lit trees in Oregon during the holiday season. And if you stand in the middle of those trees and look up, the space created by the sky makes a star, which is just kind of a fun thing. There's lots of legends and lore about the star trees at Willamette. On the next slide, you can see just a central feature of our campus. And something special about it is that we have this beautiful mill stream running through the entirety of our campus. It's beautiful to have the water there. Contrary to popular belief, it does not rain every day in Oregon for students who come to us from other parts of the country. I think sometimes there's that fear about the Northwest, and that certainly isn't the case. We have beautiful weather in the fall and in the spring. We get our share of drizzle, but we have some beautiful days, and it's always fun to see students lining the mill stream when the good weather comes out. And then one final slide I want to show you as part of our little tour. This is just a kind of fun map that shows how our downtown campus really is so perfectly situated for students. You can see Willamette in the center. You can see the state capitol just up above us, really literally across the street. You can also see just below campus, Salem Health, which is one of the state's largest hospitals. It is directly across the street from our campus, and really a great situation for students who are interested in our very, very strong pre-med programs at Willamette. Lots of our students look at health careers or public health, and it's such an incredible resource to have the hospital right there. You can see the downtown corridor that's labeled and see how close proximity we are to all of the things that a student experience needs. There are restaurants, there are grocery stores, there are coffee shops and movie theaters. All of those things that really speak to kind of the idea of a college town, I think are very, very easy for our students to get to, and they can walk to everything. So very well situated for the college experience. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Brian, who's going to talk a little bit about the, back to Caitlin to talk about the academic experience at Willamette.
All right, academics. So we definitely have a lot of things that make Willamette unique regarding our academic distinctions, and I'll talk about a few of those today. The first of which being access to faculty. Like I mentioned, we have an 11-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So our students have a great access to faculty members. You'll see them all around campus. You'll see them in our student coffee shop. You can ask them a bunch of questions, and they have pretty much a doors open policy. So our faculty are always there for our students, answering any questions they may have. We also have our college colloquium, which is the first class students ever will take at Willamette. It's the first class that they'll take the minute they step on campus. It happens 2 weeks before other classes resume. Our colloquium class is basically on a bunch of different topics, but sets students up to prepare for the academic rigor that Willamette offers. We've had colloquiums being taught on the ethics within Harry Potter, to discussing which type of animals are ethically ones that we keep for pets versus which ones we might eat. You'll never see the same colloquium title twice, but what it does do is it offers students a sense of community, and they can acclimate to academics at Willamette before they have their other course loads and before other folks come to campus. We also have an innovative curriculum. So we have a really good liberal arts education here, meaning that you'll see how your major, your class, whatever area you study, will intersect with other subject matters, other majors, other people. That allows you to have this really good view of the world when you graduate Willamette. We also have experiential learning, hands-on learning. Like I mentioned, we have our Xena property, which is a great example of that. We have folks do sustainable farming, which I think is a great example of that experiential learning, where they can have that hands-on experience of what it means to be sustainable, what it means to farm, and plus it provides our students with great produce every once in a while that's widely popular. And we also have our Hearths. To talk a little bit about our Hearth program or areas on campus, I'm going to turn it over to a brief video. So enjoy.
Hearth really embodies the ideal of Willamette as a residential liberal arts college. The history of the Hearth goes back to the renovation of Collins Science Center in 1981. One of the spaces that was last to be finalized was the space that became the chemistry Hearth. The architect said, okay, we'll just put some tables there with chairs and call it a Hearth as a gathering place for faculty and students. We were interacting almost immediately.
The Hearth I see as a community space. It's kind of neat for the students in a particular discipline to feel like they have the spot that they can go where they can find the other students that are doing what they're doing. So it's really a place of connection.
I have my office with the desks against the wall so that there's open space inviting people in, but the Hearth also invites people out.
Right outside our offices, the charm and the draw is in the fact that students here feel comfortable coming up and asking a question about anything.
You get a lot of time to talk one-on-one with different professors, and you just learn a lot of subtle things. And you can talk to all kinds of different students.
I like it working in here better than I like working in the library. It's easier to find people who know what you're working on. It's social, but it's also collaborative learning.
Willamette is a very egalitarian place where faculty genuinely care about students. We collaborate and share, and our doors are always open.
From a good chemistry standpoint, another way to think of the space is as a bonding space.
When you're working with somebody personally on something, you can just see that, the wheels turning in their mind, and there's that sort of click when the idea comes. For me, it's always a joy to see that, just see the learning actually happening right in the moment.
You're not a good teacher unless you can actually creatively meet students who come with a very diverse range of backgrounds.
I feel like the Hearth really makes us unique. I don't see why any other university wouldn't want to have this.
The Hearth is a simple space where very rich connections occur that really defy simple description.
All right, so that's a little bit about our Hearth system. Very welcoming, a great place for students to collaborate, as the video mentioned. I also want to highlight some new programs that we have. Our business program, public health program, and data science program. Willamette is also always striving to help folks in whatever area that they're interested in majoring in, or careers that they would like to pursue. So we're really excited to launch these programs. And then lastly, I'd like to highlight our graduate schools and dual degree programs. These are excellent programs that partner with our graduate schools, which are just a walk across campus length away, and they allow students to do a couple years at the undergraduate level and finish up their degree over at those graduate institutions. So we have a 3-2 BA, BS, MBA program, as well as a 3-3 BA, BS, JD program. Which is a great opportunity for folks to shave a year off of their undergrad, as well as get their degree a bit earlier. And I'm going to pass it over to Brian.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brian, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of our life outside the classroom. And so if you could hit the next slide, Caitlin, that would be great. Perfect. So something that I do want to talk about Willamette, it's finding your place. So as a student, you might feel a little bit awkward coming onto campus because it's your first time here and you don't really know where you might fit in. But here on average, students are involved in about 2 to 3 things on average here on campus. So it really is a great idea and just a great way for students to get involved. And Willamette University offers about 100 clubs and organizations, so whatever you would want to be a part of, we have something for you. And even if Willamette University doesn't have something that you're interested in, you can always create your own. And that's the great thing about Willamette University, is that it gives you the ability to create and make the experience what you want out of it. If you find other students who are also into the same thing, into the same activities, it's completely easy for you to make a club and keep adding on to our 100+ clubs. And that's the reason why we add the plus, because students are always adding more clubs and just more interactive abilities for them to be out and about and get to meet new people. On our campus, we have campus recreation and outdoor programs, which allow students to go out and about and go explore Oregon, kind of like what the picture is right here on the screen. We also do have community service learning programs where students, if they want to help support their campus community, they can do that. Or if they want to go out into the greater Salem area to help the Salem community. We also do have multicultural and affinity groups on campus. So if you are, say, a student of color, or if you are a student that is first gen or a student along those lines, we also do have resources for students that can help them establish themselves and find resources to thrive in this academic setting or just academic area. We also do have student government, and it's a great way to kind of just practice and get involved into all of the different things that happen on campus. And also, like Sue mentioned earlier, we are very close to the Capitol, and so it's very easy for students to kind of just go from student government to maybe being an intern over at the Capitol, because about 80% of the interns at the Capitol are Willamette students, which is great. But if you're not interested in those kinds of extracurricular activities, we also do have 20 music ensembles and performing arts clubs. So if you are interested in being a part of a cappella or of an ensemble group, we have those abilities and opportunities for students to participate and be a part of that environment. And on the next page, we're going to talk a little bit more about other opportunities within the Willamette community. If you are into sports and want to come to Willamette for sports, particularly a varsity sport, Willamette University has 19 NCAA varsity sports. And in the year of 2021, we'll be adding the women's triathlon. And it's going to be an amazing turnout, because we recently started the women's lacrosse team here on campus, and they've been doing so great. And they've always been on top of it, and they're always good to go out and support. But if you're a student that isn't really wanting to come to Willamette for varsity sports, but still want to be a part of the sport life, that's completely great too, because we offer intramural and club sports that don't take up a lot of time for you. But if you still want to be a part of, like, say, soccer, basketball, you still have that ability to be a part of it. And so we also do have fraternity and sorority life. I am a part of a Greek life here on campus, but like I tell everyone on campus and other students that come on to Willamette University, you make the experience what you want. If you want to be a part of a fraternity or a sorority, you are more than able to, and you have the power to do so. But if you don't want to be a part of any of it and don't want to be affiliated, that's completely fine too. You make what you make of it what you want. And that's something that I really like to reinforce, that Willamette University gives you the tools and the abilities to create and experience your own journey. And so that's something that I make sure I tell all students, because this is your 4 years here, and we want to make sure that you make it what you can. Other Willamette traditions that I want to highlight are specifically what Sue mentioned earlier, our star trees. During the winter time, we light up our star trees, which I want to say is one of the biggest ones around the nation, because we don't light just one tree, but we light all 5 of our trees during the winter time, which is a great ceremony and just a little community bonding that we like to do with our Willamette community and just the Salem community in general. Something that is very iconic is our $1 bistro cookie. And you might be thinking, like, what's so iconic about a cookie? Well, like, general cookies are about this big. Our bistro cookies are about this big, so like as big as my face, and they're only for $1 at our student store or our student bistro, which is student run, student led. And also our luau and social powwows, which are multicultural organizations or clubs and events hosted throughout campus for students to learn and for students to experience something different and new for themselves, and just be able to go into a new social setting and be able to learn and appreciate all these different aspects and cultures that are presented to you. And another fun fact, which I will mention on our next slide, is that Willamette University has not only broken 1 Guinness World Record, but we've broken it twice. We've broken 2 world records, and I feel like we should get a 3rd one, because we've broken the same one twice. And the first and the world record we've broken was the largest game of red light, green light, with 1,060 Bearcats, and then again in 2015 with 1,203 Bearcats. So, you know, if you want to come be a part of a university that's broken 2 world records, we welcome you, and it'd be fun to see new Bearcats coming into the fall. Now I'm gonna hand it now back to Sue to talk a little bit more about living on campus.
Thanks, Brian. I love hearing our students talk about the student life experience and the out of the classroom experience at Willamette. There's so much going on. I think that figuring out that balance between the rigorous academic experience here and all of the things that can be learned and experienced outside of the classroom is something that Willamette does really well. We recognize that it's important to have both of those things happening. So thanks for talking about all of those things, Brian. I want to talk for just a few minutes about living on campus. Willamette is a residential institution, which means we have a requirement that all students live on campus for their first 2 years. We believe strongly that a lot of learning happens by living in community with one another. So all first and second year students live here. About half, or just a little more than half, of our juniors and seniors also live on campus. They have the option to move off campus, and many do. But the fact that so many choose to live here all 4 years says to me that a lot of students really find it to be a very comfortable, convenient, great place to live and learn for all 4 years of their time at Willamette. We have 2 dining halls on campus, 2 main dining spaces. Gowdy Commons is where most students will eat all of their meals when they live on campus. Kaneko is located at Tokyo International University of America that Caitlin mentioned earlier. It's another wonderful dining commons, a little bit smaller. They have Sushi Wednesdays. They have an Asian kind of theme that students really love. So 2 great options on campus. We also, as mentioned earlier, are in very close proximity to lots of places just off campus where students will occasionally go for a meal. Sometimes we get the question about whether or not a student can bring a car to campus, and yes, you can. Anybody is welcome to bring a car with them. Everyone who parks on campus on a daily basis or buys a parking pass, whether it's the first year student or the president of the university, we all buy a parking pass. They're very affordable. So that's the one thing that you need to do if you bring a car. I do think so many things are so accessible to us by foot that often I recommend that students coming to us spend at least a semester here without a car to see how they feel and see if they really need it. A lot of cars just sit because there's great public transportation, and again, so many things are available on foot. The next slide shows just a typical residence space. Willamette has a number of different residence halls, different varieties. There are some single rooms that will go to students, particularly if they have an accommodation or a need to have a single room. Some students just want a single room, and some of those are available as well. Most of our rooms are double occupancy, kind of what you think of as a traditional residence hall room with 2 students in it. There are some that are triples, and some over in Kaneko Commons that are quads. So 4 students living and then sharing a restroom together. So we also have some apartment style opportunities for students who are juniors and seniors. So lots of different options to choose from. One of the things that Willamette does for incoming first year students is we have a designated residence space for all brand new students. And in fact, tomorrow, these students start to move in. It's our opening day's time, and students will start to arrive to move into that space tomorrow. We're very excited about that. One thing that's nice about having all first year students live in the same complex is that it removes that question of, gosh, am I choosing the right dorm? Am I gonna make the right friends? Am I in the right place? You know, there can be some stress about the whole residential living thing. And I think because we put everybody together, it builds great class unity and helps students get to know each other and takes any of that question away about where should I be? So the next slide shows one of our residence halls in terms of the common space. So everybody obviously has their residence hall room, but then these buildings also have common spaces. All of them have a kitchen and kind of a living area. just spaces where students can congregate and enjoy time together that's outside of their actual room. These living spaces, the way they're used this fall, will look a little bit different than in a typical year because of the pandemic, but there still will be opportunity for students to be in these spaces while being socially distanced and spending time together, because that's so important. So now I want to talk just a little bit, move us kind of away from all of the wonderful qualities about Willamette and talk just a little bit more specifically about the application process. Willamette is a common application school exclusively, so we don't offer an institution-specific application. We use the common application. We do not ever charge a fee because we don't want that to be a barrier to anyone. We don't ask for any supplemental essays because we really are looking for one very strong piece of writing. We want you to concentrate your energy on the essay that's required as part of the common application. So we don't distract you with anything else, just focus on that. And we are a test optional institution. We have been for several years. We recognize that there are some questions about how much test scores actually tell us about an applicant. So we leave those as a totally optional part of the application. We offer a couple of different deadlines for application. Our early deadline is November 15th, and that date represents both an early decision and an early action option. So students who apply early decision on November 15th are telling us that Willamette is their #1 choice, and if admitted, they will come. They sign a contract to that effect, and they will be expected to pay their enrollment deposit early in the new year. Students who apply early action by November 15th hear back from us early by the end of December, but they are not making any binding commitment. They aren't telling us that we're necessarily #1 on their list. They're just saying, I'm interested enough in Willamette to apply early, and I want to know my decision early. So early action and early decision both have the benefit of finding out in December and just know where you stand with us a little bit earlier in the process. Our regular decision deadline is January 15th. We get fully half of our applications at that deadline. Gives students a little bit more time to finish up and put the final touches on their application over winter break. So that can be a good choice for many. For those who apply regular decision, we let you know by early March if you've been admitted. And then you have until May 1st to let us know if you plan to attend. So just to reiterate that SAT and ACT scores are completely optional for Willamette. We don't require a letter of recommendation beyond that which is asked for from your school counselor. However, most students will submit at least one letter of recommendation from a teacher. It's optional, but it's usually the norm. We don't need 10 letters of recommendation. Some students will get really excited about collecting letters of rec, and that's fun to see. But we have limited time to read through our applications, and so 1 or 2 really well-chosen letters of recommendation is what I usually encourage students to seek. There is an option through the Common App to upload a resume to enhance your application, and it's fun when that is used. And then we don't require an interview, but we love to do personal interviews with students anytime we can. It changes the process of actually reading an application to have already met with that person, or to have one of our colleagues have met with them and have notes in the file. So we really encourage anybody who's interested to set up a one-on-one and this year generally virtual interview with your admission counselor. Next slide, Caitlin will tell us a little bit more about financial aid at Willamette and how that process works in conjunction with the application process. So anyone who applies for admission to Willamette is automatically considered for our merit-based scholarships. So you don't have to apply separately to be considered for merit aid here. Just by virtue of completing the Common App, we will consider you for those. Those merit-based awards range up to $27,000 per year, and they are locked in at the amount that you receive in that first year and guaranteed to renew all 4 years that you're with us. In addition to those awards, we do have a number of competitive scholarships that speak to specific interests or talent areas. So if you have an interest in debate, music, theater, visual art, public health, environmental science, or any of the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, or math, there are specific awards, competitive awards that you can apply for to be considered for those. There's a very clear and easy to use page on our website that speaks to competitive scholarships and tells you exactly what we need for each of those awards in order for you to be considered. And the nice thing about these is they stack on top of your original merit-based award, so they don't diminish that original award or take away from that in any way. They are in addition to that merit-based award. The vast majority of families who send a student to Willamette are also eligible for need-based financial aid of some kind. So we encourage students to fill out the FAFSA, or the free application for federal student aid. That's available on October 1, and the earlier you fill it out, the better. The paper version of the FAFSA is available for those who don't have opportunity to complete that paperwork online. And again, we encourage everyone to fill out the FAFSA. It helps us know that you're interested in aid and helps us consider you for maximum aid. The other thing that we often encourage for students is to certainly maximize your application for any of the things that Willamette can provide to help you fund your application, fund your education here. But often students will also apply for outside awards that can help supplement what we have available. And that combination of some outside scholarship and Willamette funding can really make the difference. So the more organized you are about your application for admission, the more you will have free up time to also apply for some outside scholarships and aid, which I think can be a really, really good thing to do. Willamette is, if you look at just the price tag for a private national liberal arts college like Willamette, it looks a little bit shocking, but once students have gone through all of these steps with us, they are often incredibly pleasantly surprised at how much we can help. And how quickly our price tag starts to look like places that aren't the same quality or don't have the same kind of offerings as Willamette. So we're really proud of how we can help students afford this kind of education. So I think before we wrap it up, we want to show you one more just beautiful shot of our campus. This is a fall shot, so we're getting ready to move into the time when things really look like this. All the fall color will be here soon. I think we've left just enough time to field some questions from students who are sitting in, and the three of us would love to take a little bit of time to do that.
Yeah, I actually have a question for Brian. A student asked if you could describe a little bit more about Greek life, what the housing system is like, activities, if they're open to everyone or just people in the organization, if you just touch base a little bit on that.
Can you reiterate the question again? Sorry.
Yeah, can you just tell us a little bit more about Greek life on campus?
Yeah, so particularly Greek life, you can be as involved as you want to be with Greek life. About 15 to 20% of all students aren't involved. And so, like I said a little bit earlier, you make what you want of it. If you want to be so involved and you want to be the president of your chapter, if you want to be the treasurer of your chapter, you have all the ability and power to do so, because we do work like other Greek life systems. But if you don't want anything to do with it, but you still want to be a part of it, but not be in a lot of commitment towards it, then you can also do that. It really just depends on what you want to do and how you want to go about it.
Great. And I actually have a question for Sue now. What is the admission process like regarding, is it holistic, or can you tell us a little bit more about what goes into evaluating an application?
Absolutely, yes. We use a holistic application review at Willamette. So the academic credentials, some of which were mentioned, are the things that certainly things that we look at. So the transcript, I would say, is very central to a student's application at Willamette. The high school transcript, the work that you've done day to day in your high school setting is going to be indicator for us to understand your ability to do the academic work at Willamette. Test scores can tell us a little bit, but really it's that transcript that tells us the most. Your writing is also incredibly important when it comes to our understanding your readiness for Willamette academically. So again, that essay is a really important piece for us. So all of those things and the letter of recommendation from your counselor and teachers, those things help us understand your academic fit, which is primary. But we are also really, really interested as we read applications and kind of build a class. We want to craft a group of people who are interesting and diverse and will help one another learn from different points of view. We want to know that students who are coming to us have had some interesting experiences in their background, whether those are personal experiences or extracurricular activities, whatever they might be. All of that is important to us as we craft our class. So understanding your extracurricular commitments and activities and passions, all of that is really important to us as well. The more you can tell us about the context that you're coming from in your application, the better we'll understand how you might make an impact on our campus and be a good fit for us. So completing your application as thoroughly as possible, giving us just as much detail as you can about yourself, both academically and extracurricularly, is going to be really, really helpful to us.
Great. And Brian, I actually have another one, passing it back to you. Is it easy to double major? And maybe you could take this time to tell us a little bit more about what you're involved in as you are a double major, and just give us a glimpse into a day in the life of a student.
Yeah, so you are able to double major. The interesting part about my story is that I actually transferred into Willamette University and I came only seeking one major. And after I got to meet the staff and faculty and I showed ambition into particularly my Spanish class, the professor there kind of pulled me aside and was like, hey, like, I know that you're a transfer student and I know that this may not be in the cards for you, but did you ever think about double majoring in Spanish? And I was kind of like, I actually never gave it a thought. Like, double majoring seemed a little bit too hard for me, especially since I was transferring. But they really pulled me aside and they really showed me that I was able to do it if I was willing to put in the work. And now going back to it, I'm really glad I made the decision. I'm an international studies and Spanish double major, which play very well together, which I'm so excited to be wrapping up my final year here at Willamette. I am also involved in a lot of different groups on campus. I'm involved in this club soccer, or the club soccer. I'm involved in Spanish club, and I also am a part of Mosaics, or last year I was a part of Mosaics, and this year I plan to be a part of Mosaics too, which is a great mentoring program for first year students, which I highly always advocate for, because it's like you get partnered up or you get a mentor that is already an established student on campus that shows you the ropes, shows you the ways, shows you everything, like what classes you should take for your degree or what way you should go, like what way would be the quickest way to get to the bistro, like those kind of little tidbits where you get to really bond with them and kind of have them be like your lifeline on campus and just have them be your friend, you know? So, and then what else did you say, Caitlin, was part of the question? Or did I answer it well?
You answered it perfectly. It was just about double majoring and then day in the life of a student. So thank you, Brian. And it looks like we have time for maybe one last question. And I see one here about diversity on campus and possibly, you know, resources. I can take that one. So we do have great resources on campus for students from diverse backgrounds. We have the Gender Resource and Advocacy Center, which is great. We have the Rainbow Alliance, which is our LGBTQ+ club that meets up there. We also have the Office of Multicultural Affairs, where many different student groups can meet. Definitely multicultural center on campus. One thing I think Willamette is great about doing is listening to the student body and student voices and helping work with students to create spaces on campus that are things that students have indicated that they'd like to see. So I think those are great examples of areas on campus. And Willamette is always promoting different ways where students can interact with each other, learn from each other. And we're definitely looking at how our diverse campus can help support one another and how we can have different areas on campus that support our students from different backgrounds. So it's definitely something I like to say that is always growing on campus. I think we have a great base, and we have some great things that are new to campus, and some older things on campus that students continuously work on. So I think we have a great amount of diversity and growing diversity on Willamette's campus.
Caitlin, I would just add to that, just from a kind of a numbers spectrum, 25% of the student body at Willamette are Pell eligible, meaning when they go through that process of completing the FAFSA for need-based financial aid, they fall into the bottom 25% of the income bracket. So we are certainly socioeconomically diverse at Willamette, sometimes in a way that people don't expect. Just under 38% of our total student body are students who self-identify as students of color. So there's I think a visible diversity to Willamette that we feel really proud of, because that's something that is important to us. And I think we have the, I don't know, the luxury at Willamette of feeling like when staff and faculty are talking about and thinking about diversity and how we build a diverse community, that speaks to diversity of all kinds. We like to think about diversity in every way you can define that word. So we seek a student body that brings students together from urban environments and rural environments, and students from across the economic spectrum, as mentioned, students who come from different political standpoints and religious backgrounds, students with different cultural identities and gender identities. All of that builds just such a wonderful diversity within the classroom that helps students learn from one another. And we know there's so much evidence for how important that is for the learning process. So something that starts with the admission process, and I think grows and is constantly evolving at Willamette, as Caitlin mentioned, and I think something that we're incredibly committed to.
All right, thanks, Sue. And I think that's a good place to wrap it up today. As you can see, our contact information is up. Feel free to email us with any questions that you have. We would love to see you on campus, or virtually see you, or of course answer any of those last minute questions you have.
Now, I would just add off of that, Caitlin, that we do have a number of other virtual visit experiences that are available currently. We are also offering some very limited in-person visits on campus for those who are local to the Northwest or who might be traveling to the Northwest this fall. We're taking a little break over the next 2 weeks for in-person visits while our campus community, our student community returns to campus. We want to handle that really safely and carefully. But after that, we will be opening up to single family tours that will be available for those who are local, and then lots of virtual visit opportunities. And we'd encourage you to sign up for any of those.
Great, thank you so much to all of you for sharing this information, and students and counselors, thank you for taking the time to sit in this session. As you close this window, a very quick 4-question survey will appear. We ask for your feedback, and we encourage you to sign up for all of those CTCL sessions, and also check out the recordings at strivescan.com/virtual/CTCL. Thanks everyone, have a great day.